Hey there, comic book fans. It's Rusty again with Collector Auctions, and I'm getting ready to go into a little comic book show here in Annandale, Virginia. This is that show that I go to a lot during the year. They have it about once a month down here at this little firehouse. It is half sports cards, half comic books. I know a lot of the dealers here. We're going to go in today, say hi to them, and definitely take a look at some books. I don't have a lot on my agenda. So we're going to be looking for books for the PC, as well as books that I might want to invest in, clean and press, get them in the CGC, maybe for a signing, who knows. But regardless, sit back, enjoy some of this footage. I'll come back, we'll do a show and tell. So stay tuned, and I'll be right back. All right, guys, I just finished up here in Annandale, and I had a great time going through the show, looking at a lot of great comic books in the walls, in the boxes. Definitely got a chance to catch up with some of the dealers that I know, so that was awesome. Definitely went through and took a look at some of the sports cards as well as some of the Pokemon cards. Not my thing for the most part, but I definitely enjoyed seeing that too. Well, I went in here without really a purpose, as I said at the very beginning, but that was a mistake. As soon as I walked through the door, I realized you need to focus, Russ. You need to focus on two key books, trying to find those 9.6 to 9.8 candidates, reasonably priced, so you can finish up your #1 comic book goal, which is to get the complete John Byrne X-Men run from issue 108 to 143, completely graded 9.6 to a 9.8. Well, I'm down to two, and I need 120 and 129, arguably two of the biggest keys in the run. Well, I've got some of those. They're actually in my collection graded, just not at a 9.6. Well, unlike Baltimore, where I didn't focus on that quite quick enough, I was focusing on any John Byrne X-Men, because if it's super high grade and the price is right, I will snap that up. But halfway through the Baltimore Comic-Con, I realized, no, focus on those books. Those are the ones you really want. Well, when I got in here, that's what I was focusing on, although I was keeping my eye out on the other John Byrne X-Men. And that's where I started having some issues. One, I never did find a 129 at a condition that I was comfortable getting. So the price didn't make any difference. But I did find a couple of 120s. And that's where I started seeing the same old issue I see here in Annandale all the time. You've got a handful of dealers, even some of the ones I don't normally see. Prices are too high. And I'm not talking about $10 too high. I'm talking anywhere from 35 to 50% higher than they should be. So I'm judging that from the X-Men books specifically, because even though I was looking for 120 and 129, I was looking at the other ones, as I said. But the prices on them, I found some really high-grade John Byrne books, but the prices on those were way too high. I was used to in Baltimore, at the very least, in that $65 to $85 range for a super high-grade common X-Men book by Byrne. And what I was finding at this show is books of that price were definitely not 9.6, 9.6, maybe not even a 9.4 candidate. They had some really serious spine ticks. So those prices were up on lesser books. And when you get to the premium grade books for X-Men, we're talking $100, $125. And I'm going, it's out of control. So I can't even look at those. But that was something I was looking at throughout the whole show, but I definitely had my eyes on other things. And there are a bunch of books, especially some key Bronze Age books, Copper Age books. Actually, I got to remember where it breaks, where the years stop in there. So Bronze, Copper, early 80s, it kind of runs together a little bit. But I was looking for some keys that I have worked on in the past. Always keep my eyes out on them, because I know what I want to pay for them based on the condition. Well, first dealer I go to, and you probably saw it in the footage, and thank you for watching that, was a dealer. He's always a high-priced dealer. I don't buy a lot from him, but he had a Wolverine limited series #1 that was in really nice shape, and I took a look at it. Front looks really good, minor stuff, nothing major, and he had a price tag on it that I would have been upwardly comfortable paying that, but I was confident that I could work it down for a cash deal for significantly less. So I put that in my back pocket, in my mind, that I'm going to circle back at some point and talk to him. Went down to a couple dealers down. They had another great early 80s key book that I was interested in, and I did the same thing. I took a look at the front of it, noticed the defects that it had, knew that I could probably deal with some of that. Part of it was a printer defect. Some of it's dry cleaning. I knew I could handle that. I saw the price tag on that. What was funny is both books had the exact same price tag, and they were both by the same writer-artist on it. So we'll get to that in a little bit. And if you watched the video before, you probably know which two books I'm already talking about. So again, I filed that away, and then I go through the rest of the show. And then for the next couple hours, I'm literally going circles looking for those type of books, the X-Men books, the Byrne books. I've told you about the X-Men 120s. The prices were way too high for the conditions that they were, whether they were lesser books or premium books. It just wasn't there. And I was finding that across the show. And I'm starting to struggle finding what I really want. But I know I've got these two books to go back to. And so eventually I'm not finding even lesser books. I love Bronze Age books, early 80s books that are non-keys, but if you can find them in high grade, clean and press, get those 9/8 on those things, even a nothing book will be worth a pretty significant amount. So I couldn't really find a lot of that kind of thing. And to be quite honest, knowing that I had these two books to go back to, I would rather put my resources into one of those. So I'm sitting here going, both of them are going to be project pieces. Both of them I've done before. I've gotten the writer, artist, and the inker on both of them. I'm sorry, not the inker. On the one, I mean, I take it back. I'm misspeaking. The first book, it is the artist and the writer. It's two different people. The other one, it is the same artist, but he's also the writer on that book. Well, the first book was Wolverine #1 limited series, and it was a very nice book. And I went back and I determined it was the one I was going to get if it was the better of the two options. And I wanted to see it first. And of course, it was going to be project piece. I wanted to send it in, get Chris Claremont at some point again, get Frank Miller again, at least those two. I don't really care about getting Joe Rubinstein, but at least those two creators. In fact, I had already gotten a limited series Wolverine 1 signed by Claremont that I got to send into a future Frank Miller signing at some point as well. So it's another copy of this. Well, I went to the dealer. I had him take it out and take a look at it. I wanted to see what that back looked like. I'm getting much better at this. I'm not dropping upwards of $200 or even $100. I'd still take a look at the back. Well, the back was really nice. A little bit of dry cleaning. There was one spine tick that I don't know if it would come out. I was confident I could get it down to a point where it wouldn't be that big of a deal, but there was a little divot in the back as well. And I think there was something else, and I can't recall, but in my mind, I didn't get to the point where I wanted to negotiate yet. And I'm not sure about this. I still was willing to come back if I could get the price down a lot. I just knew it wasn't going to be a 9/8 candidate, and that's kind of what I wanted. But it would have been maybe a good 9/6 candidate, and I don't know if it would have been worth it at that point. So I went passed on it, but still held it in my file cabinet. And so I went back to one of the first dealers I went to, and I found this book, the one book I ended up picking up. And he was solid on the price to begin with. And I took a look at the book, just like I did the Wolverine. We took it out of the bag. Definitely could see on the front cover, there is a printer streak on there. Some of the dry cleaning in the white areas can be cleaned up, but you can't really do anything in the colored area too much. But, well, I'll tell the whole story here, but I'll show you the book. I did pick this up. Daredevil 168, the first appearance of Elektra. And of course, I'm talking about Frank Miller on both books. Of course, Claremont would have been, of course, on Wolverine 1, but on this book, it's going to be Miller, and then, of course, getting Klaus Janson as well. A piece that I just got signed by Janson at Baltimore Comic-Con. It's the same book, and you notice it's also a newsstand here as well. Well, he was really solid on this $200 price that you see. I wasn't, after taking a look at the book, there were a couple little minor things. There's a piece that hangs right here. I think the cover was miscut a little bit, and that hanging piece definitely got dog-eared a little bit. And then on the back, you can see it on the back up here in the spine right here. You can see that it's a little bit of a corner crunch. I think I can get it out, but that's going to be the hardest part for me, is getting this out. I think it's a 9.4 to a 9, possibly a 9.6, depending on your grader, possibly on this. Well, project piece, because I've already got my piece. I didn't need to send it back into CGC to have it verified by Miller with Miller's signature and Janson's signature now. This is another project piece. It's the exact same book. And I want to send this book in to get graded as well. And I'm doing this as an investment piece. One I can invest a little bit of money into here, send it in, increase the value with Miller's and Janson's signature. Hopefully it's a decent enough grade, and we'll see how much money we can actually make at this and help pay for some of the hobby. So it was completely an investment idea at this point, and a project piece. And I will tell you this, I think what I'm going to do is maybe I'll do some filming once I get home. We'll get this cleaned and pressed. There are no upcoming signings with either the Miller or with Janson, but if I can find them at a show before next year at some point, at any point, I will try to get into a facilitator to get this signed for me. I'll make sure it's all cleaned and pressed after they send it back to me as well, and we'll send it into JSA, CGC to have it verified, just like the one that I'm already working on that will go in a lot sooner than this one. But that is the project piece that I'm working on, and that was the only thing that I picked up from the show today, and I'm pretty happy with that. If I didn't get either one of these, I decided that what I was going to do was go back to my friends at Pop-Up Comics. They always have a great number of comic books in really high condition. And I could have found something just to walk away from the show. I hate coming to the show and walking away with nothing. I could have found some smaller books that would have been very satisfying just for the PC for the most part, without spending a lot of money. This one, obviously, I put a little bit more money into it. And what was nice was he was solid at $200, and I gave him a price. I would pay this in cash for that, knowing that I was going to have to work on it a lot and with those defects. And he said, I can't do that. And I was about ready to walk away. And he said, what can you do? It came down to 185. And I'm like, I kind of like, no, I'm okay. And then he ended up coming down a little bit more back to where I had originally offered a price. And he ended up, because he's seen me at these shows for years at this point. We've talked, we've never formally introduced, but he recognizes me as somebody that always is coming by buying books and kind of a semi-regular customer at that point. Sometimes I don't buy a lot of books from him, but I do over the years. I've bought several books. So he ended up coming down to my price just so he could have some movement and make the sale and get some stuff out of his collection as well. So it all worked out in the end. So this book will end up being a project piece that I will try to make an episode out of. I will try to take the camera in, show you some of my cleaning techniques as I work on the book, as I get it prepped for a signing at some point, whether it's through a facilitator or whether I send it to CGC or whether I do it myself. We'll see about that. But I do know I want to get this book ready to go at a moment's notice so I can have it ready. Don't want to waste time, especially if there's a signing and I don't have this book ready. I don't like rushing, cleaning, and pressing. So that's about it. Maybe we'll do a whole episode on that where I send it in to CGC eventually, have JSA verify it, get the grade back, and then we'll sit down and we'll talk about whether this was a good project or not. It is a labor of love, so I don't mind that part of it, but I don't like just waste money either. So if it's a break even, it's one thing. If I make some money out of it to help pay for some of the hobby, that's another thing. Again, I'll try to do a whole episode about that. But guys, that is it for today. Definitely leave me a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think about the book I picked up and the idea, the process, what's going through my head. I'd love to hear your guys' opinions. And if you've ever been to Annandale, to the show, this is a great little show. Some of the dealers are high, but you can definitely find some gems in there. And if you're in Pokemon or One Piece or sports cards, you definitely have dealers here. And sometimes you run into other YouTubers, like I did today when I ran into Longbuck's Love Affair, who has a great channel, one of the other few YouTubers here in the DMV area. Ran into him and said hi. Sometimes you get to run into Ryan from Automatic Comics here. You never know. He may show up here occasionally. I didn't see him today, but I have talked to him several times at this show. But guys, that is it. If you enjoyed today's show, definitely give me a like, slap subscribe, and click on that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my future episodes that I put out each and every week, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 p.m. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Have a great day. I'll see you for the next show. Until then, remember, every comic has a story.